This time on Dreddit.
Am I the a-hole for reporting fraud? I'm an audiologist and I do work for the Veteran Affairs. I, personally, feel that hearing loss claims are ones that fraudsters erroneously select the most, thinking they can just ignore the beeps and get some quick cash. This guy comes in with a claim for hearing loss. Now, to be clear, you don't need to be deaf to get money from the VA. You can have normal hearing that shows a decline over time and still get a rating. The guy is doing fine. Hearing is looking normal. Then we get to a point and he basically gets everything wrong. So I call bullshit and tell him that his hearing is normal. I know what he's doing and he needs to cut it out so we can finish the test. He apologizes. He does look a little nervous, but he says that the small space he's in for the test is triggering a panic attack and that's why he jacked that part of the test. Guy was a submariner, so I'm not buying his claustrophobia excuse. I note in his record that I think he was being non-compliant with the test and potentially trying to manipulate the results. That's usually all it takes. This guy, however, within a few days of the test withdrew his claim. I suspect he withdrew his claim because I called him out rather than just making a note, and he didn't want my accusation to turn into a fraud investigation. This kind of pissed me off. I'm tired of people trying to cheat the system. My brother-in-law is a Veteran Affairs special agent, so I called him to tip him off to this guy. He tells me that it isn't going to go anywhere because 1, the guy withdrew his claim, and 2, proving he tanked his test, or tried to, would be somewhat difficult, as his lawyer would almost certain argue he actually did have a panic attack since the rest of the test was perfectly normal participation. He suggested I just let it go. I chose not to. The guy is employed as a police officer. So I called the misconduct tip line for his department and basically laid out that he was trying to cheat a compensation exam. An investigator contacted me and thanked me for my tip and said they may need to subpoena some records if they find enough to warrant more investigation. My brother-in-law is telling me that I fucked up big and I shouldn't have done basically any of the things I've done aside from making the note in my report. From my standpoint, if more people stepped up and actually vigorously pursued fraudsters, then there would be less fraud. What do you guys think? Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for telling my friend's cousin the new guy she's talking to is not real and a scammer? My friend has a cousin I've met a handful of times and I do get along with her very well, and recently we've had to spend more time together due to my friend getting married. My friend describes her cousin as someone who is desperate to be in a relationship and never has had an actual one, even being in her 30s. So 2 weeks ago my friend briefly mentioned she heard that her cousin was talking to a guy on Tinder. I was naturally excited about this for her and asked about him when I got a moment alone with her. Unfortunately, everything she told me made it seem like a complete scam. I am someone who watches different scam baiters on YouTube. I know a lot of the common themes. This guy she told me about was in the army who just happened to get deployed urgently to Syria right after talking to her. So I started to tell her about how there is multiple scammers that use that same backstory and tried to show her how to send him a link, and if he clicked on it she could see his actual location. Someone also overheard us talking and he happened to be in the military, and he pointed out a few holes in his story too. Then the following week I seen her again and had asked how it was going, and she told me that she was very angry with me and had many confrontations in her head about how I was wrong. However, then she tells me that her friend pointed out that his name he told her and what's on his uniform in the picture don't match. Also, he just so happened to lose his wallet this week, and she said, I'm worried because of what you said, but what if he did lose it? I tried to teach her one more thing, how to reverse image search, but she also didn't care for that, so I just dropped it and wished her well. I'm like 100% sure this guy's a scammer, and it would suck if her money gets taken, but that's replaceable. But if she realizes the guy that she's been spending so much time on is just after money, it will crush her. Am I an asshole for telling her this?
Am I the asshole for reporting my mom for identity fraud? I and my GF put in an application to rent a condo and found out my mom borrowed $43,000 with my social insurance. I talked with a lawyer and he tells me I can either report my mom for identity fraud or pay it off, or declare bankruptcy. I confronted my mom and she begs me not to do it and just pay off the debt. I don't have anywhere near that money and decide to do what the lawyer recommended. The lawyer told me filling out the police report is not the same as pressing charges, but I'm still scared what might happen to her. We used to be very poor and she used my social insurance to pay the bills and provide for me and my brother. This feels like I'm betraying her, and my brother refuse to speak to me. My relatives all stopped talking to me. Am I the asshole here? Edit. People are asking me if my mom or family could pay it. I don't think so. My mom is on social assistance and my family isn't much better off. My grandma has a house but I'm not asking her to sell it. Also, my lawyer said a police report is just to get the ball rolling on clearing up the debts and recovering my credit. It doesn't include her name, but I'm sure if they tried they would figure out it's her. My mom might face charges but it's unlikely she would get jail time. Edit. People are asking why she didn't put the loans under her name. She's got terrible credit and has declared bankruptcy before. I don't know if my brother has checked his credit. He blocked me on WhatsApp, FB and his phone. Edit. To clarify, she probably didn't borrow $43,000. It's probably $10,000 to $20,000 that grew with interest, fees, etc.
Am I the a-hole for pressing charges on my daughter for fraud? Me and my wife recently found out that her daughter, my stepdaughter, though I consider her close enough to my own after having raised her for 18 years, has taken out about $60,000 in loan debt under our name, without our permission. For some basic context, she took out a Parent Plus loan for school, under our name and social security number, without asking us. In her first semester of her freshman year, she did come to us, asking if we would fill out the paperwork for her, since her school's loans were only for about $5,000 for the whole year. We explained that we didn't have the financial means to take out a loan for the amount she was requesting, about $14,000 a year, but offered to help her find scholarships or work study, and other ways to potentially help her cover her costs. After me and her applied for about 5 to 10 scholarships, and she got a part-time job, she never came back to me and my wife with any financial aid concerns again, so we figured that she had largely figured it up. We brought up tuition a couple times, but every time we'd ask, she'd just say that she was able to cover it all, and didn't need any help with it or anything. Come us, a couple years down the road, we've gotten a letter from the Department of Education saying that our loan has gone into default, and has been so for about a year at this point. We reach out to her school and, after a little bit of digging, we discover that after we had told her no on the loan, she had gone around our back and applied for it all online. She filled in her own contact information instead of our own, and the loan went through just fine, since she had the correct social security numbers and all. We've spoken with the school and the Department of Education a fair amount about this already, and we basically have two options for this. We can either eat the loan, and pay it all back ourselves, something not at all financially feasible for my family, since we have about $40,000 in medical debt on top of this now, or to go through the state to press charges on each one of the 5 loans she's taken out, each loan being over $10,000, making this a felony in my state with a minimum prison sentence. At this point, I'm not certain what my family can do. We don't have the money to be able to pay this loan back, but me and my wife are emotionally wrecked at even the thought of pressing charges against our own daughter. So, here's the important question, Reddit: if I press charges here, am I the a-hole? Edit: since there's a little bit of confusion, a bit of clarification. A+ loan is a loan that we would take out in our own name, to give her extra funds for education. Because we would ordinarily be the ones taking it out, she's not involved with the repayment process at all, she's not even technically eligible to make payments towards it, since it's under our own name. Edit 2, I promised myself I would never do anything stupid like this if I ever had a post blow up, but now I truly understand what RIP inbox means. I really truly would like to thank everyone here for their support. I know Reddit is one of the few places I can make a post and expect to get a reply. In reality, even though I've gotten a huge outpouring of support saying I would not be the a-hole, is that a thing? I don't know. If me and my wife go through with this, I'm still 100% split about how I actually want to go. You guys have given me a lot to chew on, and I'd really like to thank you all.
31 male, rejected a friend's, 28 female, friend, 26 female, after knowing about her OnlyFans past. Friend is upset. She nonchalantly disclosed this on our third date. Apparently she used to be an adult content creator at OnlyFans, and there's nudes of her all over the internet. She mentioned missing the money but said that it was not her thing anymore. I didn't say much about it during the date, but I guess she picked up when I refused finishing the night at her place. Later that week I sent her a vague breakup message. I don't think we are romantically compatible, think it's best if we stop seeing each other. Good luck in the future. She asked me twice for specifics, and eventually asked if it had anything to do with her past as an OnlyFans creator. I was honest and told her that was the main reason, then she blocked me. Fast forward a couple days, I received this long angry text from my friend accusing me of sexism. I let her know it has nothing to do with sexism, but with principles, as I am against sex work and find it degrading for all parties involved. I then ask her if she dates someone who used to pay for sex but doesn't anymore, which prompts a block from her. Is the relationship with my friend salvageable?
AITA for kicking my brother out of my apartment after I found out about him and my ex. My ex and I broke up a year ago. Or more like she decided she didn't want us to be together anymore, so she moved out of our shared apartment. It hurt like hell, but I tried to move on. A month ago my brother said he was having girl troubles and asked if he could crash at my place a few times. He's always been private about his life and stuff, so I said that was fine without really asking what was up. All he said was him and some girl he was with needed time apart. Last Tuesday I happened to see someone calling him on his phone and saw a pic of my ex. Right away my thoughts went all over the place. Like, why the fuck was my ex calling him? I drilled my brother about it later until he finally confessed that they've been a couple. He swears it all happened right after we broke up because they wanted it to be done the right way. That's not even the worst part. They have a fucking kid. I saw it in the pic. Like how old, but baby looks a few months old, and he says it was unexpected, but they've tried to keep it on the down low because he knew it was gonna blow up when I found out. Well, I did. And told him to get out of my place because he's not welcome. He begged me to let him stay since he and my ex are still patching stuff up and he can't go back yet. He promised to avoid me and leave me alone as long as he's staying there. I still told him no. None of his other friends have space for him, and my mom the only one who can let him stay, but she's over 2 hours away from where he works. I got called from her and turns out she knew about it the whole time, but she wanted to spare my feelings because I was still hurting over my ex. My mom said she already told him off for doing this, but he's my brother and right now he's having to sleep in his car by where he works because he literally has no place to go. According to him, nothing happened between them while we were in a relationship. But everything seems like it happened too quick, so I really don't know. To my mom, since we were broken up, I can't see it as too much of a betrayal when I should be over my ex already. Which I am, but that doesn't mean I'm not gonna be mad at him for what he did. She's being really hard on me about this that I'm not willing to think of a compromise to let him have a place to stay while not interacting with him at all. Maybe I'm too mad that it's clouding my judgment, but am I really being an asshole over this? My 29 male wife, 28 female, is pregnant, but I've found out she's been cheating on me on regular basis with a good friend, 29 male, of ours. Okay, so it's only been a day since I made the original post, but there's been a new development. It's no longer entirely about whether should forgive her and more about where to go from here. I won't make any more updates unless asked or if something major happens. So, I confronted my friend. He lives close to my parents' beach house, where I'm staying, so I invited him over to have a chat. Here is a quick sequence of events. So after some casual exchanges, I sat him down. I could tell he was confused, perhaps nervous, but he had a smugness about him. I wasn't looking my best, but I could tell he was thinking I looked tired. I sat him down. I'm gonna type in script format cause it's easier. I've had a few drinks. Me, house, wife, him, I don't know. Last time I saw her was at yours. Me, right, cause I know what gone on. I left it as open-ended as possible to see if he would confess to something I didn't already know. After some denial and feigned confusion, he finally makes his confession. Him, she told you we've been fucking? His words, not mine. Me, not in detail, but yes, that's why I'm here. Him, yeah, well, she wasn't lying. After that, I went on to ask him a series of questions that I regret asking, a bit of emotional self-harm I guess, but he was more than happy to answer, which was painfully off-putting. Things like, how often, when, where, among other more embarrassing things. I wish I didn't know the cause. Now it's playing in my mind like crazy and I'm a big fucking idiot. The one thing he denies with certainty is the child isn't his. I don't know why he's so sure, but I am inclined to believe him for some reason anyway. I want to give my baby the best life possible. I did everything right, I make money, I'm attractive, I work out, I treated my wife like the goddess I truly believed she was. All she had to do was let me love her and I would have given her and our child everything. We just bought a home. When she told me she was pregnant, I was over the moon only to have this happen. After this encounter, my friend offered to hang out to make sure I was okay. We've been friends for years and knows I've suffered from mental health issues in the past, and he was being a good guy by looking out for me, but frankly I think he wanted to stay and drink all my booze whilst laughing in my face been sleeping with my wife. I punched him, he said he deserved it and he left. I messaged my wife telling her I know the relationship was ongoing. She responded with "let's talk about this in person." I said I didn't want to look at her. She didn't respond. Anyway, here's the advice part. Naturally, I think the obvious step now is to leave her. I really don't want to. I know that's not what I'm supposed to say. I know I'm supposed to want to enact revenge and give her comeuppings, leave her out on her ass with nothing, but that's just not in me. I had a plan for my life, and that plan included her. I know people don't have an easy time online believing that things can be more than black and white. I thought she loved me. Those were the first words I'd hear from her every day. If she wasn't pregnant I would leave, and I'm still considering leaving. I just want to know how to go about being a good father and ex-husband. Ideally, I'd gain main custody, but as we know that's not usually easy for the guy. Financial support is an obvious one. Secondly, I want to know where to go from here. Do I see her in person? I don't want more details to cause what my friend told me is enough disgusting information to last me a traumatic lifetime. She currently in our home and I didn't plan for this because I fucking wasn't expecting this. No prenup, my parents are wealthy bohemian artist types, there will be no help emotionally. They were swingers for Christ's sake. I hate this. Too long didn't read. Turn out my friend and my wife have been sleeping together more often than just once. Typical. I want to leave but I will. I want to be a good father to the child currently in her womb, which my friend insists is not him despite admitting to everything else. I've been intoxicated for what feels like 24 hours. I don't know where to go from here as I've never planned for a divorce. Update, I've gotten some consistent sleep and even though I've slept all day I feel rested. I've organized to see my wife. She said she will make us dinner and we will sit down and discuss what happens next. I know a lot of people have said not to see her or talk to her, but I have to know why. I also have to tell her I want a paternity test. I've really appreciated all the kindness and criticisms sent my way. I feel like I have a small community on my side which has helped me get through this in a healthier way. Perhaps it's been a distraction, but regardless I've needed this. I want to keep everyone interested updated because it helps me feel heard. Thanks again. Update 2, so the dinner happened. She made my favorite meal. She was dressed up beautifully. She was really trying to just make it hard for me. Upon entering the house I was excited to see her. I had spent the whole time in the car practicing what I was going to say and trying to think about all the fucked up things my friend told me to work myself up, but upon entering the house and smelling her cooking and perfume I was struggling. After she tried to greet me with a kiss but I nudged her off of me, she offered me a drink, which I accepted and I sat down at the table. She served me my food and sat down. We sat in silence for a bit whilst I ate. I hadn't eaten since finding out, so to my surprise I was able to get in a few bites before the anxiety of the situation got the best of me. I finished my drink and as she was making me another drink I finally said, "So why did you do it?" Her response at first was, "I don't know." This pissed me off. How could she not fucking know? So I repeated myself. This is when she seemed to open up a little more. Perhaps she could sense I was getting frustrated. She sat down and explained to me that she just felt trapped and she just needed something separate from me. In more detail, but that was the gist. She insisted she loved me but sometimes she needs a break from reality. I asked her if the baby was mine. She said yes. I asked her how she was certain and she said that my friend has had a vasectomy. I feel like that's something he would have told me, so I said I didn't believe her and I want a paternity test. She graciously agreed. Of course, she did. She's always been gracious and receptive to my ideas. After she agreed I asked if she was unhappy why didn't she talk to me. If she needed a break from reality, I would have paid for a vacation or a spa week, or if she wanted to start a side hobby, it's something I would have been in full support. As I was saying this, I began to cry. She got up and cradled my head against her chest. This is where I fucked up. I just held her and cried as she comforted me. She lifted my head and started kissing me. I didn't push her off for a few minutes. I knew this was the last time I would have an intimate moment with her, and I wanted to mourn her embrace. I snapped myself out of it after a while and stood up abruptly. I went to the bar and made myself one last drink and told her, after the test, we'd be getting a divorce. This is where she began to cry and kept telling me I had to be there for our baby, and she won't be able to be the best mother she can be without having her strength. I am her strength, apparently, by her side. After some back and forth, I was about to leave, but she said I should stay because I was drinking. So I did. I went to sleep in the guest room, but she insisted we just sleep in the same bed together for old time's sake. She tried to hold me in her sleep. I let her, but I remained limp in her arms. Then as soon as the sun began to rise, I snuck out. I'm back at the beach house. I called a lawyer. Last update. I am back at my home. She is also here. We are not sleeping in the same room, and no, I'm not taking her back. It'll just be easier to organize the divorce this way. It was my idea, not hers. We tried to have sex on my first day back. I couldn't make it work. Too many images of her and my friend. She seems to have accepted the divorce. She's pleaded a little and insists she loves me. I told her I still love her but can't forgive her. After that we haven't communicated much. I've been in contact with my lawyer. I'm meeting a girl tonight. I was not advised by my lawyer to see anyone during this time, but I need this. I'm doing better. I had a dark moment where I thought of some dark things, but quickly snapped out of it once I thought of my potential child. I also am worth so much to so many people. I am ready to play human again. I really appreciate everyone checking in on me even days later. Things have moved so fast. I'm shocked at how quickly one's life can change. I received a drunken phone call from my friend, and I have an idea of why he did what he did to me, and it's no excuse and I don't forgive him, but the phone call is probably what pulled me out of the slump I was in. He basically admitted being resentful and envious of me, which was an ego boost at least. Thanks again to everyone. Too long didn't read. I nearly gave in to her, but I didn't. She said she needed something separate from me, which is why she cheated, and that the baby can't be my friend cause he's had a vasectomy. I told her I didn't believe her and wanted a paternity test anyway. We ended up sharing the same bed, but I snuck out. She tried to convince me to stay. I've contacted a lawyer.
You